Hi, folks. We're in the Cobb TV studio for our weekly chat with Cobb Commission Chairman Mike Boyce, and we have a special guest with us today, Associate Comptroller Buddy Tessar, because, Chairman, you wanted to talk all things budget and finance.
Yeah, I think we had a number of achievements this week. This goes to show you that we're finally back on stable financial, budgetary, fiscal footing that I've been working at for over 2 years that allows us to move the ship forward in a positive direction, and more importantly, has the revenue stream to do all the things that the county expects of us so we can have a place where we can safely work, live, and pursue our dreams. So today, Buddy's here to talk about all the things that we go through to achieve this recognition. And first of all, I'd like him to talk about an award that his finance department received this week from a organization that has a acronym that I just won't use.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. This week, it was announced that the Cobb County Budget Team received the Distinguished Budget Award from the Government Finance Officers Association, which is a very high award for our budgeting book. It also reflects our budgeting process of the county. Very few counties around the United States receive this award, and it's a very high honor. So even though it was for the county, I would specifically like to take the time to thank the budget team and the budget staff and also county leadership for everything they do.
Yeah. So what goes into winning that award and being recognized?
Oh, it's quite the process. So as you all know, from creating a budget for a county this size, it's a long process. We revamped it this past year where we went through a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan over the course of a year boiled down to our biennial budget. That biennial budget, which was passed by the board in July, then had to be encapsulated into our budget document, which is a 500-page read of everything that is the county. So mission statements of all the organizations, our financial position from a budgetary standpoint, our strategic objectives from the county are all in this book, and it's published for the public for their review.
And it's on the website.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show, I think to emphasize and highlight is 500 pages. This is a county of 760,000 people. Our budget is somewhere around $450 million, and that's exclusive of the water system, which is another roughly $400 million, I believe. And it just goes to exemplify the effort that goes into creating the financial and budgetary support system that we can use to both procure, but more importantly, to open in an open, transparent manner, arrive at decisions where we believe best serve the public. And I can't say enough about the team that both Buddy and Bill Volkman, who is the head of the finance department, not with us today, obviously. The effort they go into, and it's not a very big team, quite honestly, given the amount of work that they have to produce. So my hat's off to the team, all of them. It's another example of the kind of employees we have here in Cobb County, where we not only expect the best, but we get the best. And hopefully this, in the next couple of months, the board will recognize them by giving them a pay raise. I just had to put that in there. Sure. The second thing that we did this week is we finally got all 3 rating agencies to give us, actually to reaffirm our AAA rating. I'd like to have Buddy talk about what goes into that effort also.
Absolutely. So the AAA is something that the county prides themselves on. So for all those watching at home, the AAA rating is essentially equivalent to a personal credit score of 850, if you will. It's basically it shows the credit worthiness of the county. It's the highest that can be achieved. We're one of only 46 counties in the United States to have that rating. So it's quite the honor. In order to achieve these ratings, the rating agencies, Fitch, Moody's, and S&P, have to evaluate our financial demographics, our demographics of the county, our financial positions, the economy in general, so basically the employment base, and also the leadership of the county are several components that go into this. And we scored the highest in all of those subcategories, if you will, and it resulted in a AAA rating.
And I think the last sort of emphasize is that what's so important about a AAA rating?
Oh, it's incredibly important for several reasons. The first reason is obviously it lowers the cost of borrowing. So over the past decade, we've had $46 million worth of savings of taxpayer dollars from lower interest rates. So that's obviously the first important thing that the AAA does. On top of that, it shows that you have a strong business reputation. So if you're bringing your business here, you want stability in your government. And a AAA rating shows a high quality government that stands behind what they do. And then thirdly, it also helps to gain access to the credit market. So back in 2008, when a lot of the markets were, quite frankly, stuck, illiquid, the county with its strong credit rating was still able to go in and issue our tax anticipation notes when many similar cities and similar circumstances couldn't because of the low credit rating.
And they had to find ways within their budget to find the money to make up for that shortfall as a revenue stream didn't match their obligations.
Absolutely.
Because of the tax collection process.
Absolutely. So as you can see, the AAA rating is very important, and the fact that we have it from all three rating agencies just speaks volumes of the county.
I know. Last year, one of the rating agencies kind of gave us a little bit of a warning, so
Absolutely.
to speak. Explain what happened there and how that changed this year.
Sure. Moody's Financial Services gave us a negative outlook. While still maintaining a AAA, they basically said, over the next couple of years, we'll begin to look at your finances because things aren't really adding up. And as you know, we had the budget where we had one-time monies included as part of the adopted budget. That was the main impetus for the negative outlook. Well, the board took the corrective actions last summer to right the ship, if you will. And because of that, we were able to not only restore reserves to AAA levels, we were also able to pass a budget with a balanced budget. And because of that, the negative outlook was removed, and the county was back in stable financial footing and a stable credit rating.
And we're stable for all three of the ratings, three
Absolutely.
agencies.
S&P, Fitch, and Moody's, we are AAA stable.
And I think it's important to emphasize here is that these rating agencies, they look very favorably on having reserves, not just a mandatory 9% reserves that we have always had, but also those other special set-asides, I call them buckets, for contingencies in the future. And I think that was one of the reasons last year they looked at it, well, at least Moody's did, was a little concerned that we'd rated all the other contingency buckets, one-time money, to pay for our bills. And this year, with the new millage rate, we were able to restore those contingencies because the reality is a lot of bad things can happen. And you need to have the money within your bank to be able to pay for that stuff without having to go out and borrow for it, or borrow to pay for those bills, or to cut back in your services in order to generate the necessary revenue to do that. So I think that what the millage rate, it wasn't just enough to keep everything open, because in fact it did. It kept all the facilities open in the county, and they're going to be open again this year, even with the fact that we don't need to raise the millage rate because tax digest is going to increase and bring in revenues to pay for the additional revenues we need to run our government. But more importantly, it reflects it's a business model that reflects favorably upon the county, that they see that we're doing the right thing here, and we're very concerned and aware of the future needs of the county, and we're making arrangements to deal with those here in a way that they believe is physically responsible.
Absolutely.
And one thing I noticed when I read the reports yesterday is that they don't just look at the numbers, they look at what's going on in the county as a whole.
Absolutely. And that ties back into the demographics of the county, the age of the county, the unemployment rate. It looks at the education, and all of those things within our county are above national averages. And in addition to that, they look at the business community. We have a broad and diverse set of industries in our county. So we're fortunate enough to have not just one main employer. We have a strong healthcare sector, a strong retail sector, government sector, you name it. The county's very, very rich and diverse in terms of our employment base, and that certainly helps in our rating.
It's also, a hedge against the future that we're in the middle of a extraordinary economic return here. The prosperity in the country has been running now for almost 10 years of increased economic growth, but we can't always plan on this happening in the future. So what we want to do is we want to have something to deal with that. One of that is having a diverse business community where we're not beholden to just one sector of the economy. The other thing is, and I keep saying this over and over again, we can't possibly pay for all the amenities we have in this county, the libraries, the senior centers, the aquatic centers, the parks, without the 13,000 businesses we have here in the county. They bring in the extra money we need to keep all these amenities open, which I really believe the people in Cobb County want to have, because that reflects the lifestyle that they want, which is why they live here, along with our extraordinary school system and other things. So the business community brings in the additional revenues we need to keep all these amenities open, and the AAA rating goes back to what Buddy said earlier. Businesses look for stability in government. That's what they want out of their government. They want to know that they can predict what their government's going to do so they could wrap that into their business model. And I think now that this will be our 23rd or 24th year
Yes, sir.
Of a continuous AAA rating, they look at that, which is why we continue to attract businesses here. But more importantly, we get businesses to stay here. So I cannot say enough good things about this county, about the people who are here living here, businesses who come here, the quality of business we have across the broad spectrum of economic opportunities here. And again, I don't think we have anything but good news for the future. And I think that the AAA ratings by all three agencies show that they have confidence in us too, and we should have confidence in ourselves that the sun tomorrow is going to come up and be even brighter than it is today.
So, Chairman, though, I'm guessing despite all this good news, making the fiscal year 2020 budget is still not exactly a cakewalk.
No, it's never a cakewalk because it's a much different story this year than last year. Last year we were fighting over the one-time buckets, all right, the one-time payments. This year we have a surplus because of the millage rate, and so we have opportunities to do things, for instance, like increasing compensation for our public safety officials. It allows us to finally address those projects that we've been setting aside that are way overdue, vehicles that are way overdue and replaced, doing things that just reflect a sound way of doing business, but more importantly, they're sensible. Who wants to keep around a 15-year-old car unless you have to, or unless you're a sports buff waiting to get that authentic, antique license plate for your car? We don't want to have that. You cannot have a AAA county and have a AA budget. Quality is not cheap, and we're going to be fighting for that again this year. But again, as I said, the issues this year, what we're going to be discussing this month and next year, are totally different than last year. We're just trying to find ways to pay our bills and convince the business sector that we know what we're doing and they have a reason to stay here. And it's always a passionate, because every commissioner has their firm beliefs in how they think this taxpayer money should be spent. But I look forward to the process. Part of the reasons we won the award from the, give me that acronym again.
GFOA.
Yeah, okay. Well, I didn't want to use it. It sounds almost obscene. But I think that the process that we put into place over the last couple of years has been more inclusive of the commissioners. And the good side about that is that nobody can say that nobody didn't have their voices heard. Maybe perhaps one downside is that everybody had their voices heard, so it's a lot longer process, a lot more laborious. But in the end, I believe it produces a better result because we have opportunity for input and over a longer period of time. We've been talking about this budget now since Christmas time. We're now almost 7 months down the road. And I think that when we talk about that, we have our work session at the end of June, and we finally bring the last proposed budget we'll vote on at the end of July after 3 public hearings. It's a result of a effort where we included not only just the staff, but also the public with our 16 town halls in March. And also the public hearings are going to have an impact from the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, because there's some projects that perhaps came out of those discussions. So at the end, it's a lot of work, but it produces something I think that, what again I call a compromise, the middle of the road, where everybody gets something, and we continue on this success story of Cobb County that I think people have come to see and want in their lifestyle here.
All right, Chairman. Well, as we proceed on the road to the fiscal year 2020 budget, and we also had a boil water advisory
yes.
earlier this week that shows you how important it is to stay in touch with everything Cobb County, like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter, sign up for the chairman and all the county newsletters and our alerts, and visit cobbcounty.org so you can stay in touch with everything coming down the pike.
Okay, well, thanks for coming today, buddy. I appreciate it. And again,
Incredible.
congratulations to you and your staff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
See you next week.